Hello, everyone. This is Lenard Guzman here on the Life After D podcast with divorce attorney Emily Robinson. We do this podcast to go over divorce news, to go over things people put up online to help with the divorces that they're having, divorce problems they're having, and divorce problems after the divorce. So, Emily, we're here June 17th, 2020. Lots of news that people are, divorces are upticking because of quarantine. Obviously, there's probably a hold up in the queue of in court because courts are closed. What are the updates so far this month?
I had my first court appearance in 3 months. So on Monday, that was crazy. It was weird to be back. There's definitely, there's social distance measures in place. You have to wear a mask the whole time. But I think that there is definitely an increase in divorces. I'm getting a lot of calls. I think as things are opening up, people are getting ready to make their next moves. It's unfortunate, but I think it's to be expected. Anyone's going to go crazy being stuck at home for 3 months with other people. So I think that it was, pretty much to be expected. But the courts are opening. Still, mostly what's getting heard are the emergency matters and the really urgent matters. But it definitely should be paving the way for, the rest of people's cases to be heard. But I do hope that people will continue to use, private mediation and other resources to resolve their cases, before they run into court. I think that maybe this time away from normal life has taught us that there are a lot of other tools to resolve your issues than running into court.
Okay, so let's go to the divorce news today. We got some celebrity divorce news. You remember Kelly Clarkson?
Yes.
American Idol. So she and her husband have been having problems in quarantine. All right. So according to Us magazine, there's this article that came out inside Kelly Clarkson and Brandon Blackstock's divorce. What went wrong? On the surface, Kelly Clarkson and Brandon Blackstock seem to be doing just fine. However, issues have been plaguing the now estranged couple behind closed doors for a while. They clash on many levels, and being quarantined together, hiding their problems to the point of no return. A source close to the Kelly Clarkson show host revealed exclusively in a new issue of Us Weekly. So she filed for divorce. Us confirmed that Clarkson, 38, filed court documents to end her 7-year marriage to talent manager 43 on June 4th, citing irreconcilable differences.
Yeah, I did hear about Kelly. That's sad. I think they have, don't remember if they have one or two kids, but I know they have at least one child. So irreconcilable differences is pretty much what everybody cites. It's a no-fault divorce state I assume she filed in California. She filed in California. So you always put irreconcilable differences. There's a few other things you can put. Fraud is one, or unsound mind, that kind of thing, but those aren't very common, and those can also be grounds for an annulment. But so irreconcilable differences just means that one of us wants a divorce. We don't have any fault things to check, like someone had an affair or somebody did something wrong. So that is the pretty standard item that you would check. But because it's public record, everybody knows when these celebrities file for divorce.
Yeah, on this case, if you read the article a little more, they moved from Nashville to Los Angeles, and I guess it drove the husband crazy. Is that a common thing? Like when you move, you change scenery, Maybe maybe you're happy in one setting and then you move over. Well, LA can, at times be toxic, a lot of things going on.
Yeah, it's very common. Sometimes it's the change of place, and people are unhappy with that. Sometimes it's just feeling like you've put your career in the back seat for the other person, and you've moved your life for that person. Sometimes there have been promises made, well, if you move for me, we'll move back in a year, or something like that, and then that doesn't happen. So there can be many, many reasons, but marriage is hard enough, and then uprooting the family and moving to a new location, and then both of those people probably having very busy jobs and children and being in the spotlight. None of that's easy. So adding a move to that, makes it even worse. But I do hear a lot of, I moved for him, I moved for her, and I didn't want to, but I did it for our family and I'm just not happy. Yes, that is common. And then a common thing that comes out from there is one of the people wants to move back and take the children. And then that's a very big battle in court.
Okay, well, this article kind of just by coincidence kind of meshes well with the topic we were talking about. Foxbusiness.com, how to choose the right real estate agent in divorce, right? Because if you're, you're moving your family over, you're gonna have to find a realtor, right? So here we go. Says how to choose. Okay, these factors could affect your home's resale value. This person who wrote this, Ron Wynn. See, I recommend you begin the process by reminding yourself that your instincts are better than you might give yourself credit for. When interviewing an agent, ask yourself whether you have seen the agent active in the neighborhood for years, talk with friends and neighbors, and read the agent's online reviews. Next, speak with your trusted advisors, including your attorney, tax consultant, or CPA, financial planner, or banker for another referral. Avoid hiring a friend, someone you know from the gym or a yoga class, or a personal relative, although this might feel like the obvious direction to go in or an obligation. It is not a wise choice. You never want to feel guilty or obligated. A good agent has handled many divorce sales and knows how to handle the question, why are they selling, with complete confidentiality, but without telling a lie.
Yeah. Yeah, those are good tips. With a divorce, the hiring agent can be hard because the parties don't necessarily trust each other. So you need somebody that can work with both parties to sell the house and not have either side feel like they're getting taken advantage of, or the realtor's on one side or the other, because that can cause problems. So you really need a realtor who can understand the divorce context and feel comfortable working with two people that may be in very high conflict and maybe have been court ordered to sell the house. A lot of times one person doesn't want to sell the house and they're only doing it because they have to, because of the divorce, because they were either ordered to by the court or there's no other financial option. So the realtor has to be very patient and understanding with that, but also, forceful enough to get the house sold. So there's a lot of tough issues there. So you really need to be careful when deciding on your realtor to see if your realtor can help with those things.
Okay. Emily, are you a big reality show fan? You a Bravo fan?
I do like some of the shows on there. I don't get as much time to watch as I'd like. Why? What's going on Bravo?
There's this. My wife's into it, right? And so this one, Dr. Imani Walker reveals she told her husband she wants a divorce. Married to medicine, Los Angeles psychiatrist opens up about what's really been going on in her marriage. Let's see. Dr. Armani opened up about what was really going on in her marriage during a heart to heart with Dr. Britton Cole in the June 14th episode of Married to Medicine Los Angeles. Quick notes. Phil and I always consider to be my best friend, like absolutely, which is what you typically consider when you're married to anybody. But I've got issues with abandonment, and Phil, he doesn't want to spend time with me. I'm not going to beg anybody, including my husband, to spend time with me. Either you want to because you're in love with me, or you don't.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's interesting. Celebrities have the same issues that we all have. And if something that is that fundamental to your relationship and that much, that really goes to the core of the relationship, because that's her love language. She needs that to feel cared about. And, it's hard to change people. And most of the time you can't. So if it's something not important to him, that may be something that goes to the fundamental heart of the relationship and causes it to not work. And, those are things that we can't change. But, they have in all those like celebrity magazines, celebrities, they're just like us. And they're usually showing like they walk their dogs, they take their kids to the park. Well, same thing. They have relationship issues and they divorce and they are unhappy. And, we're all just humans with needs basically deep down, and those needs have to be met. And if they're not, the relationship may not work out.
Okay, let's see. Remember how it was to be young? We got a younger divorcees looking for advice.
What are you talking about? I'm still 25.
You gotta look it. It's just a number, right? Okay. Here we go. Let's get into this one. First, I guess I'll start with my story. I'm 28-year-old male, and I've been married to my wife, 26, for 7 years. We were high school sweethearts and had been together almost 13 years. 2 weeks ago, she left me, claiming she doesn't feel the same anymore and needs time to work on herself, but doesn't think we can fix our beyond repair marriage. This is the only woman I've ever been with. I'm just looking for someone who's been there and advice on how to bounce back, and how long should I wait until getting back out there?
Well, I think that's a very, very personal decision. Everybody has a different amount of time that they're comfortable waiting to get back out there. So that's really just got to be up to the person, and what they're comfortable with. It's hard. I think the grieving process can take a very long time. And when you're young and you got married that young, this is a giant chunk of your life. I mean, it's like a third of your life probably. So it's tough. But I think that hopefully this person and other people in that situation can look at it and focus on the positive. They're still young. They have so much time to find another soulmate that hopefully will stick. They have, so much left to give. It didn't sound like they have kids yet, so that they can look forward to that. And maybe, this was a young relationship and they grew apart, and there's someone else out there that is more right for them as a grown-up, as opposed to, a really, really young adult or teenager when they met. So there's a lot of positives to actually look at, having this happen so young. And I know a lot of people that got married at like 19, 20, and maybe it didn't work out and they divorced at 25, and then they went on to be married for 40 years. So, there's so much opportunity out there. And I think, whenever that person is ready, and people in that situation, you should go for it, because you have so much left to give to the world and to yourself.
Yeah, I remember there was people in my high school who got married at like after graduation, and I think back and I'm like, okay, their kids are probably like going into college, and so
right?
Yeah, and some of them were on their second marriage, so it's like they're still young.
Oh yeah, I have friends who, had kids at like 20 and those kids are going into college now and but the friend is maybe like 40 and they're having another baby. They've got kids like 18 years apart and it's a second chance. It's a new relationship and a second chance.
All right, here's an interesting one. He filed for divorce 2.5 months ago. Wife still hasn't signed the waiver of service. As the title states, he filed and gave her the petition and a waiver of service because at the time we've been separated for close to 9 months and we've already split everything and we've been amicable about it all. Now 2.5 months later, she still hasn't signed the waiver of service and I'm ready to get it all over with. I told her today that if she doesn't sign the waiver soon, then I'm going to have her served so that we can get the ball rolling. She didn't take that very lightly and called it threatening. Is there anything I can do for her to sign or get this rolling?
Yeah, good question. So you can't waive service. If somebody won't agree to sign that they received papers, you're going to have to serve them with a process server, in person. And in California, a divorce takes a minimum 6 months from when the person is served. So until you get them served those papers, either like the date they sign the waiver, that they receive the papers, or the date you have somebody personally serve them, that's when your 6 months starts ticking. So that person's 6 months hasn't even started ticking. So, there's really nothing you can do to compel them to waive service. They don't have to. So they really need to just get a process server and personally serve the person so that the 6 months can start. Even in amicable divorces, there are a lot of procedural rules that have to be followed, despite whether, you guys agree on everything or not. You have to follow the process. The court will not enter your divorce unless you follow the legal process that has to be, done in order to prepare and file all the paperwork appropriately.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like in the modern time, like you can send what you would have to do before fax and sign. You can just send like I guess e-file it. Like so, this next one, it's kind of related. This morning, the final straw that broke the camel's back was delivered via text message. This morning, my husband told me he wanted a divorce through text. After he left, I was not surprised, and at this point, I'm scared and a little relieved. I've been too anxious to push that button. We are in our mid-30s in the Pacific Northwest and have one child under the age of 2. Yeah, let's go with that. Like, it's so it gets so complicated. Like in a quick text, and it's something like you'd think you'd have a conversation with, but it's like you send that button and your life changes, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the world these days. Like people break up over text. I think it was Katy Perry whose husband, Russell Brand, like broke up with her over text, like saying he wanted a divorce. Like this is our world now. Everything's immediate. Everything's, at your fingertips and digital. You know, People have entire relationships online or over text message. So I think that it's much less personal, obviously, than we're used to. I kind of think like any generation older than millennials finds this weird. Like, everybody over like 30, 32 probably finds this really weird. But I honestly think that anyone under that age is probably like, okay, we'll do everything by text. I do everything digitally. They don't know a world without DoorDash and Amazon and internet. So to them, I don't actually think it's considered that strange.
Okay, I'm probably getting too old now. Like that's probably what it
No,
is.
me too.
Right.
Me too. But this is like what I what I see with the younger clients versus the older clients. And I'm sort of in that middle area where the internet came out when I was a kid, but I certainly remember the time before internet and cell phones and text messages. And, you know, I don't think I had a cell phone till college. It's just a different world.
Yeah, it's weird. Okay. Last post. Civil restraint agreement. My wife took out a restraining order against me last month. I will also be filing for divorce shortly. Now her attorney has reached out to me saying in exchanging of withdrawing the restraining order, she wants spousal payments as part of a civil agreement. Civil/civil restraints. This civil agreement would be entered into before divorce. Now I make more than her, and I will be liable for alimony upon divorce. Would I be able to put in the civil agreement that those spousal payments be credited towards alimony? I obviously want to avoid the situation where my wife comes for more alimony after the divorce.
That's a good question. So alimony is typically, if your marriage is under 10 years, it's paid for half the length of the marriage. So let's say you have a 3-year marriage and you're going to pay alimony for 1.5 years. This is under California law. And your divorce may take 1.5 years. So let's say you're paying your alimony, you've been paying it for 1.5 years, but now you're finally divorced. You want your alimony to be done and that 1.5 years to be credited toward paying all your alimony. You don't want to pay for another 1.5 years after the divorce is done. So yes, you can make an agreement, and in it you would put that, you know, any temporary support payments prior to the divorce judgment being done will be credited toward the total support payments. And that way it protects you so you don't have to pay longer than the required time frame.
Okay. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Any last parting words?
Well, I was just so excited that I heard Disneyland was reopening because I love Disney. So I had to have my Frozen background today that my daughter chose because she's a 5-year-old girl. So of course she loves Elsa.
Okay.
So I am so excited and I can't wait to go back to Disneyland when I can. Yay.
Okay.
That's nothing to do with law. I just wanted to share.
Oh, okay. So since we covered Kelly Clarkson earlier, what's your favorite Kelly Clarkson song?
Oh, I like that song Because of You that she did with she also did it with Reba McEntire, and I think she did a version with Reba McEntire. I love that song. So pretty.
Yeah, I don't know that Steve Carell movie, 40-Year-Old Virgin, where they're waxing him and
I love that movie.
Just Kelly Clark, I don't know, that's what went through my head.
I love that. Yeah, when he's getting waxed, he's like, Kelly Clarkson.
Yeah. So all right. So has nothing to do with divorce. Life after the podcast. We just goof around here. So we'll see everyone next week. Bye, Emily.